Welcome on in, everyone. It's episode 7 of the Not From Philly podcast. I'm Adam from Wales with my good buddy Justin from Tennessee. Man, has it been a crazy week in Philly sports? It never seems to let us down. Hopefully everything is on the mend now. We'll see against the Steelers what the passing game is going to look like. So, let's get straight into it. Just how's it going, buddy? How are we feeling about the Birds?
What's happening, fella? I thought it was kind of boring this week. Wasn't a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
Reached out win against Carolina. Not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was an easy win as well. Nothing went wrong.
Very frustrating week to be an Eagles fan. I will say that. But hopefully they got things worked out. Some things that you and me talked about beforehand. But yeah, let's get into it, man.
Yeah. So obviously, the Panthers game, it just wasn't easy. The entire game. Obviously, we're all happy that they got the win because maybe last season, if they'd been playing that type of game, they would have lost. But obviously, like we've talked about, they seem to have a more stronger mentality this season. And obviously, that's going to show how strong they are in the Steelers game now. We'll see how everything that's happened this week with all the talk and the rumours of this, that, and the other, and how they're going to, how that's going to fare in the Steelers game. But obviously, that game last week against the Panthers, it was just a struggle from beginning to end. The Panthers, they were a hungry team. They're at the point in their season they've got nothing to lose. So, and they've been playing good football. This is a fan podcast. We both, myself and you, we listen to Sports Talk Radio for most of the week. We like to watch other podcasts, and everyone sort of seems to be on the same thing where the Panthers have been playing much better football.
Yeah.
CJ Young, Bryce Young, he's, been playing a lot better. He seems to have found his feet. Obviously he's a bit late in the season now for them, but it's a good sign for them going forward that Bryce Young, and I like Bryce Young. He was good in Alabama. He was good in college, and it's a shame that he had his struggles. But it's nice to see that he's finding his feet. But it was a shame that he had to start finding his feet against us last week because he seemed to be. That seemed to be a game for the defense where they struggled quite a bit. Obviously, the defense made key plays throughout the game, but they did miss some tackles here and there that we not, the last 9 games we haven't been accustomed to seeing them do. The Zach Bourne missed some tackles, and he's been a game wrecker. I saw Nakobe Dean miss some tackles. The defensive line, Jalen Carter, they seem to struggle a bit. Towards the end of the game, obviously, Slay made that game-saving pass breakup, which, secured the win for us. So, and obviously, the offense again, just slow start out to the gate, slow start the whole game. Jalen, I'm not going to say that I'm super disappointed in Jalen, but obviously the passing game was brought up to light afterwards when AJ, made the comment about what was wrong, and he said passing, and obviously a lot has been, read into that. And then BG, unfortunately, on the Brandon Graham show, made these comments that, that maybe the friendship is not going so well again. But, since, we've both seen that Jalen and AJ have both come out and said, no, we're good. We're going to work on the game, the passing, and this is going to be that. But Jalen did miss some open targets in that game. He checked it down instead of, getting them to AJ and to Smithy. So it was a bit disappointing. The game this week with the Steelers, this isn't a great game to, see if they can get the passing opportunities back on track. I think, like everyone else seems to, said this week, AJ, I don't think it's a case of AJ is angry with Jalen, so to speak. It's just, they know the identity of this team this year is obviously the run game. It's all gone through Saquon Barkley. When Howie went out in the offseason and signed Saquon Barkley, everyone in that team had to know you're not going to bring in a running back of that caliber to just be a pass-happy offense. Obviously, you're bringing him in to run it, and to obviously then play off that with it opens up the pass eventually then. So obviously I think AJ and maybe Devontae Smith are just angry at the fact that when the pass plays are there, the ones that they are calling, get the ball to me. That's basically what they're saying, I think. Just get the ball to me. If we're only going to throw the ball 25, 30 times in a game, when it's there, I want it. So that's what I think it is. How do you sort of like read what's gone on this week with all this, unfortunate drama?
Well, I'll go back to something I said last week. Last week I said when the schedule first came out, I had the Baltimore game chalked up as a loss. It was at Baltimore. It was coming off of going to LA playing the Rams. It was kind of in a iffy situation. Lamar had only lost to one NFC team his entire career. He was undefeated at home his career in December. I chalked it up as a loss, and they won. But then I also, when the schedule came out, I was looking. I was like, okay, you put Carolina, who everybody pretty much knew they weren't going to be great, but we didn't realize how bad they might be. I said, that's a trap game. That's a game you could lose. You could wind up losing 2 games in a row. But as it turns out, we're on a 9-game winning streak. So I think like what they said in the pressers somewhat this week, Carolina was doing some different things with their defense, giving them some different looks, things that they hadn't seen. And as far as the passing game, I think Jalen right now, he just doesn't want to turn the ball over. He doesn't want to put the ball in harm's way. And sometimes you have to be a bit of a gunslinger when you're an NFL quarterback. Sometimes you have to let it go. Now, as far as missing the wide open, I mean, we've heard it like this week on WIP, like the host asking guests, how often do quarterbacks miss open receivers? And Ron Jaworski, former NFL quarterback for the Eagles, he said, you miss all the time. You've got 300-pound men crossing your face and linebackers jumping. You're going to miss them.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it is disappointing at the way Jalen played. And, like, the touchdown pass he threw to Devontae, he gave up an easy touchdown to AJ, what looked like, because there was nobody within 5 yards of AJ for the tougher throw to the side of the end zone to Devontae. But maybe he didn't see AJ. I don't know. As far as the stuff with those guys going back and forth and arguing, when it came out, I was like, my God, not again this year. Please, not again this year.
Yeah.
It all went to hell in a handcart last year after the Buffalo game. And then on Monday night at the Brandon Graham show at Chickies and Pete's, we've got Brandon Graham coming out saying what he did. I think Brandon took a calculated risk. He knew he was going to say it. He wasn't. If anybody didn't listen to the whole show, go back on the Odyssey app, listen to it. He was not poked and prodded or goaded into saying anything. He came there ready to say what he said, I believe. Like nobody, and then like everybody's like, oh, well, the next day he walked it back. Yeah, he had to basically. But this
of course.
Was a calculated risk by Brandon Graham to get everything out in the open. Try to clear the air to where he did not want the same thing to happen again this year. He did not want this team to fall off a cliff like it did last year. Because if you let stuff fester and grow, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. I think this week, very tough game against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a very tough team. Crazy good defense. With Watt, with Hayward in the middle, and then you've got who is it? The linebacker escaping my name. Is it Queen?
Patrick Queen.
Linebacker, yeah, Patrick Queen. You got Minka Fitzpatrick on the back end. I mean, Pittsburgh's just a model of consistency in the NFL. They
got the highest amount of takeaways this season as well, haven't they? And they score off those takeaways a lot as well. So
that's what we. But I think we're going to see, like as our boy Jack Fritz likes to call it, overcorrection week. 12 targets, 10 catches for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns tomorrow. And if he does, that probably means we're going to win. As far as the Saquon thing, yeah, we all knew they were going to run the ball more when they went out and signed Saquon.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knew we would be running it to this extent. I think everybody, myself, and I don't want to speak for you, but you and me included, like this is going to be the most balanced offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Whereas gradually become so one-sided, like these last 3-4 games, it's unbelievable. And I think it's going to be overcorrection week, and AJ's, like I said, going to get 12 targets, 10 catches, 140 yards.
Yeah, I mean that would be great, and if it's successful, then I'm all for it. But
Yeah,
the Steelers are so good at taking it away. I think Jalen he's not I wouldn't say Jalen is sort of stubborn in that way, but he's sort of like he's not going to he's not going to make adjustments that are going to be dangerous to his play style just to satisfy AJ or to satisfy us, the fans. Especially in a game like this, I don't think they're going. I know, like Helen Moore came out and said, "Oh, I'm going to work to get AJ more targets and this," but in this type of game, you know. It's I don't. It's not unfortunate, but what's worked for them is obviously this run game.
yeah.
The O line being so dominant, opening up the gaps for Saquon, and then Saquon taking the lead. So I don't think they're going to veer too much away from that, and I don't think Jalen would want to either. I think Jalen's going to, if he just takes what the defense gives him, which is going to be, I think that will be good enough. And then if it means, that means JJ is getting the ball more and Devontae's getting the ball more because they're managing to get open because the defense aren't playing up to this, that would be great. But I'd love for AJ to get all these catches, and I'd love for Jack to be right and all this, because it would be just it would be brilliant. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to stick to what's worked, and if AJ gets a couple of more targets, I think they'll hope that we're all happy with that.
The thing that aggravates me, it's like what you said. Kellen Moore said, "I got to work to get him more targets." It's not. It's Kellen Moore calls the plays, but when AJ's wide open, it's not on Kellen Moore to throw the ball.
No,
it's all on Jalen. It is, and you've got people calling in, griping and fussing about Kellen Moore and his offense and stuff. You are literally seeing not only AJ, but Devontae and Dotson and Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra. Some of these guys are wide open, and he's not seeing them. That's the concern I have. But granted, I can't say anything. Like Josh said, you got 300-pound men crossing his face, running all around him. But the decision making is what's like. It's so frustrating because the one play it was an RPO and he kept it when it was just clearly obvious he should have gave it to Saquon, and he gets taken down for a 2-3 yard loss, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's got to get better at his decision making. And you would think in his 5th year, I know it's his first year in this offense, and I don't want to be one of those guys, but I mean it's not early in the season anymore. You're 13 games into the season. You should have a firm grasp of the offense by now. And it's so frustrating and infuriating, but the thing I want to see is I want to see these guys come out tomorrow with a fire under their ass, ready to rock and roll, ready to go get win number 10 in a row and handle business. And hopefully Detroit loses to Buffalo to help us out a little bit, and we can still hope that number 1 seed in the playoffs. But it's going to be very interesting tomorrow, see how things go. Game plan-wise, like what you said, like you think they're just going to stick with the dance with the one that brought them, keep plugging away at the run game and stuff like that. My thing is, I think it's easier to prepare to stop a run game than it is a dynamic passing game. So they're real. Like I was hoping last week they would open things up with the passing game, and it would be like a big breakout game for Jalen. He'd have his best game of the year against Carolina because they're so bad, the secondary and all that. It wasn't. It was his worst game of the year as far as win goes. I mean, it was. Yeah, they said he had like a 110 quarterback rating. He threw for 87 yards. It was, I mean, he took no big shots really downfield. I think he had one deep ball he threw to AJ that wasn't even close.
Yeah, no.
But just so infuriating to see the same things happen again and again. But like our buddy OG Wade says, he just keeps winning. So as long as he keeps winning, I don't care if he throws for 87 yards or 587 yards. As long as we get that George W at the end of it.
Yeah, the George W, as Black Ritty says. Yeah, it's I wonder, because obviously, the Packers game at the start of the season, we had a full house. We had all the weapons, and it was a bit of a up and down game because it was the first game of the season. Obviously, they don't play him in the preseason and all this. But then obviously AJ was injured for a few games, and they managed to get by. Obviously it was 2-2 before the bye week, so it was like, ooh, and then obviously AJ come back, and I wonder, because obviously after the bye week, then the O-line, they were like, no, we need to run the ball, and I wonder if maybe they didn't give it enough time for AJ to get back, and obviously then Devontae got injured and he was out, and then so they've like adapted the run game offense, and these guys, I know they're getting frustrated now, but they haven't really had their opportunity and their moments like they did last season. Last season, we weren't a running offense, we were a passing offense, and Jalen turned the ball over a lot more. But the AJ got his targets, Devontae got his targets, and but obviously then everything collapsed after 10 games. But it's just I just wonder what the plan was going into the season. I know, like, obviously you bring in Saquon, you have to, like, use him to the best of his ability, and they have, and it's worked. But I wonder if that was the original plan, and like, were they planning for it to be a more balanced offense, which is what we want, which is what everyone likes, and is what you need to ultimately win. I just wonder, how much that affected like their psyches, and like, obviously now maybe their AJ is there, and he's hoping he should be getting these more, these targets, and he's open, and the ball's not coming to him because Jalen's not seeing him for whatever reason. And it's just like, I just hope now that they can contain everything that's gone on this week and just come back together, which I think they will. I have faith in them. I know, like, obviously everyone around the media is sort of like hoping now that we're going to collapse, and they're not friends anymore. But at the end of the day, Jalen is AJ's daughter's godfather. But obviously, the friendship was there before they became teammates. When you become teammates, obviously things are a bit different. But the first year that AJ came into this offense, it was incredible. You know what I mean? He was Jalen's number one weapon. He nearly broke receiving. He did break a couple of receiving records for the team, I think. And it was like, oh wow, the connection is just, I wondered when AJ first came in. I was like, I know they're friends, and they practice together through the years during the off season, in college and stuff. And I wondered, how good are they actually going to be good together when they got to be teammates? And it was amazing to see, and that looked like it bled into 2023. But then obviously we found out there was all these other issues, and so I just hope now that they can, like in my background, but they can just come together. And I don't buy that there's all this turmoil behind the scenes. I believe what AJ was saying at his press conferences, this week, that he wasn't sort of aiming it towards Jalen. It was more of just, when I'm open, get me the ball.
Yeah.
The limited targets that I'm going to have in this offense, get me the ball. So I hope that's what the case is, and like we said, this is a tough game to try and find that out, but they're going to have to. Like you said, the Steelers, it's much easier to plan to stop a run offense than the passing attack. So the Steelers, they're going to stack the box this week, possibly. Mike Tomlin, he's a brilliant, head coach. He's a leader of men, and he's going to make sure his defense is ready to go. He's got, big key players, like you said. So this is going to be the week to find out whether we can, get this passing offense back on track.
Well, talking about, like, going back to the beginning where you said, AJ had the injury early in the season. He missed a few games, and then Devontae had the injury. I forget at what point, but they said, like, the offensive line, I guess it was Lane and Jordan and maybe Dickerson, I can't remember, went to Sirianni and Kellen Moore and said, we have to run the ball more. So yeah. I don't know if they knew that the offense click better, focusing more on the run game, or if they were seeing things with Jalen that he wasn't comfortable with, to where look, we have to run the ball more. We need to make a more concerted effort to run the ball. So, like I said, that was early in the season when that happened. What I think we were 2-2 at that point. It was coming off the bye.
Yeah, it was during the bye week. I think they went in and they said, look, we need to run the ball. That's it. We need to run the ball. And that might have just been, maybe when they done that, they just thought, because obviously AJ was injured, then Devontae went out, and things weren't clicking, and that might have just been what they were thinking at the time. This is a temporary solution. Let's just run the ball until we get all the playmakers back, and then we can refresh and reset. But obviously, in the meantime, that hasn't happened, because Saquon and their O-line have been so dominant, and we've had so much success off it. So now where that has affected, obviously, the pass game coordination, and hopefully it hasn't, the frustrations aren't rearing their ugly head again. So we'll see. I think they'll get it corrected, but it might not be in this Steelers game.
Yeah, it's like we said, this is a tough week to try to get your offense right. Last week was the game to get your offense right.
Yeah.
Last week was the game to kickstart the pass game and get it going. But going back to that, like you said, okay, you had the injuries and they seen things weren't going right with the pass game and stuff like that. So I also agree with the fact that you said, well, let's just use the run game to win what we can till we get 100% healthy and everything. And maybe at the time, Jalen still wasn't really ready, fully, knowing the offense, or I don't know how to explain myself.
Yeah.
Wasn't ready, fully into it or whatever yet. And he needed maybe a little more time. But like I said earlier, we're 11-2. We're 13 games in, going into our 14th game now, and you should know the offense now. You shouldn't have to be told, okay, we're going to target AJ more. AJ's your number one receiver. He is a top 3 receiver in the NFL. So that should be your first read, first and foremost, in my opinion. Devontae should be your number 2 read. If both those guys are on the field at the same time, it should be AJ first read, Devontae number 2, and then so on and so on if it's a pass. Unless it's, a design screen to Saquon, or a wide screen to AJ or Devontae, something like that. But if it's a developing route, yes, your first read should be to AJ Brown if he's on that field. I really hope that we can just get through this, get win number 10. It's going to be tough. I'm telling you. I like I said, I was expecting a loss to the Ravens, and then maybe a get right game or kind of a trap game against Carolina. Well, it was a trap game, and we were hoping we'd get right, and it's just very frustrating. But hey, we can't complain about a lot. We're 11-2, and even if we don't get that 1 seed, I think when you look at the standings, we're pretty much locked into that 2 seed. Like we would lose out to move out of the 2 seed, because in the West, I think Seattle's ahead in that division. With Rams behind them. San Francisco's done. They're dead. The team is dead. We had OG on with us a few weeks back. He was saying, I think San Francisco, they're going to wake up. San Francisco is dead. They are DOA. The South is the NFC South. Only one team's coming out of that division, and it's either going to be Tampa or Atlanta. New Orleans and Carolina ain't going to get it.
I think Tampa are going to edge it. I think the Falcons seem to be falling apart a little bit.
Yeah, so I think us and Washington are going to get out of the NFC East.
Yeah,
then you're going to have 3 teams out of the North. So who's going to win it? Is it going to be Detroit? Yeah, we all think it will be Detroit, but could possibly the Vikings creep up and bite them? They could. The Vikings they're a very good football team. And then the Packers, I think they have 4 losses now, so they're not going to win that division, but they're going to be a wild card team. But that NFC North is still up for grabs. But I think we firmly have the number 2 seed locked up at this point. Even if we do lose to Pittsburgh, we've got a pretty easy schedule. With Dallas and I think we have our second game with the Giants, and
Yeah, that's the last game.
Washington's not going to be a pushover.
Well,
Washington's
it's Washington. It's Washington next week, so that's another.
yeah.
We got this tough game against the Steelers, and then we got to go up against Washington, and obviously it's a home for Washington this time, and Jaden Daniels is going to be coached up a bit more to go against our defense. So that's not going to be an easy game either, unfortunately. So yeah, let's talk about. It's unfortunate to see the struggles he's going through at the moment, because he's been such a lock every season. And you went to that Buffalo game last season and he made an absolute incredible kick to take us into overtime. How are we feeling about poor Jake? Well, he used to be Jake the Make Elliott, but for the time being he's not. But how are we feeling about Jake?
Man, I'm not feeling good. I mean, you can see it on his face. He's concerned and he's frustrated because, like, when he was like, "My God, what do I got to do to make a
What
kick?"
do I got to do?
So I have something I'm going to steal from our buddy Drew in Westchester, and I think it's a good point. Jake doesn't do anything all game long until he has to kick an extra point or a field goal. We have Braden Mann doing kickoffs. Okay,
yeah.
Let him do the kickoffs. Let him do something to get acclimated into the game.
Yeah.
Trotting him out there for a 48, 50-yard field goal.
Keep his legs warm. Keep him active. It's just.
I don't know why we've got, and maybe they're afraid he might pull a hamstring or something kicking off. I don't know, but there are no kick returns in the NFL anymore. It's dead. It's gone, because if you take the touchback, you get it on the 30. I would rip a guy a new one if I seen him try to return a kick. I would, because you get it on the 30 every time. I'd much rather have it on the 30 than the 20.
Yeah.
I mean, get him in the game somehow, some way. Get him acclimated into the game. I don't know. It's frustrating to me to see him, because, like you said, he's Jake the Make, and now he's just so it's in his head. It's like they said. It's like a shooter gets the yips. It's like a golfer gets the shanks or whatever.
Yeah.
It's concerning to me, because we're getting down the home stretch here. We're going to need him in the playoffs.
Yeah, like I said last week, we're going to need Jake going forward, and it's going to be. I mean, I'd like to think he gets it fixed down the line. I mean, the next few weeks we'll see. There might be a game where the offense is just unfortunately struggling again for whatever reason, and they're going to be reliant on they'll be on the field where they won't be able to go for it on fourth down so much, and they'll have to be reliant on Jake kicking it. And it could be a type of game where it's a field goal game. There's been those games in the past, and at the moment, it looked like last week it was like 4th and 8, and they punted it instead of having Jake go out there, and Jalen. Obviously, Jalen wasn't looking great in the game, so they didn't have faith. To obviously, you shouldn't really throw it on 4th and 8 anyway. But
what would it have tried that field goal? I forget. Was it 51?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was within his range, but
yeah, it would have sealed the game if he made it, and it could have done the world for his confidence if you try there and he makes it. But it could have crushed him too. So I think punting at that point, especially after we saw what happened with Avante downing it on the 2-yard line or whatever, it was the right decision, because they were going to have 98, 99 yards to win the game. But if you got him out there and he makes it, his confidence is through the roof. Hey, I'm back and all this. But if he did it, dude, he could spiral possibly.
Yeah.
So Braden Mann's done a heck of a job punting the ball this year. But
he's been great.
I wish they run him out there for kickoffs. Do something to get him incorporated into the game earlier. Like you said, get him a little loose, get him warm, keep him warm. It's just, it's got to be tough. You're doing nothing. You're standing there the whole game, and then they're like, hey, we need you to get out there and get us some points. Yeah. I know paid for, but still, man, it's tough.
And I've heard the weather isn't going to be great in Philly this weekend as well. I've heard there's going to be a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what I haven't listened to the afternoon show from yesterday, so I'm not sure what Tornado Shapiro said. It's usually 50-50 with a chance of rain in there. So
Yeah.
I'll have to listen later to find out what he said on his weather report and how mad he drove Spike. But I got to say that's become one of my favourite parts. Every Friday, I look forward to Rios with his big build up speech.
Yep.
The Sergeant Major. I look forward to Tommy down the shore.
Yeah, Tommy.
Tommy is just brilliant. He's fantastic. And then obviously, when the Tornado calls in, with Joe Conklin, obviously, we all know that. But it's
it's great.
Just, and
it's one of Colin's best bits. The Tornado.
Oh yeah. He's. I think they realized that after the first 2 weeks, so they were on to something with this character, and now he's brought Ike into the equation. He's trying to get Ike in trouble every week, saying he's going to this club and this nightclub and strip clubs and all this. It's so funny.
Background saying, "What the hell?"
Yeah. Ike is just like going out of his mind, like you're gonna get, and he's just gonna get him in trouble soon. But I love that. I love that part. But so how we feel about the defense for this game against the Steelers, because obviously we like I said at the start of the show, they struggled a bit last week. They missed some tackles that they don't usually miss. With the linebackers, the defensive line, they couldn't seem to get much pressure on Bryce Young. Cooper DeJean struggled in the slot against Adam Thielen. He's a veteran. At the end of the day, Adam Thielen's a veteran. He knows how to get open. He's been pretty good throughout his career. Obviously, he's never been a world beater, but he's one of those guys, just knows how to get open. Knows how to make the safe catches to get a first down. And he had Cooper, last week, and so it'd be interesting to see how Cooper fares going forward the rest of the season. And in the playoffs, obviously, he's going to be coming up against much tougher receivers in the slot. Do you think the defense will get back on track this week, or is there much of a concern? Do you think, or not?
I don't look at it as much of a concern because, unfortunately, like I said, I've said it 100 times. I like to go back to last week and look at it as a trap game. Like you said, we missed a lot of tackles last week. That is not what this team has done all season. Vic Fangio and whomever, they have showed these guys, I don't know what they've done, but like the tackling has been so much better this year compared to what it was last year. Last year, tackling was atrocious. It seemed like we missed tackles. Every on play, we had a chance.
Yeah.
Now, these guys rally to the ball. Like if somebody's got the ball, you look, and then there will be 3 to 4 guys converging on the ball not long after they get it.
Yeah.
Shot downfield where somebody gets beat over the top. And I think it was just kind of like I said, I think everybody was just kind of lackadaisical last week. Hey, it's Carolina. They're not that good. They've got 2 wins. We've only got 2 losses. And we're just going to roll the ball out there and we're going to beat these guys. I really think, I know everybody says, well, it's the NFL and it doesn't work like that, but it's like Ike says too. Those guys get paid too. They get paid to play just like you do. So, and they may be 2-11 or whatever their record is, but do you think that snapping an Eagles 8-game win streak would be motivation for them? You daggone right it would. You don't win in a row, and you get paid too, and you're a professional player too. And I just think they were kind of lackadaisical. Going back to Cooper, it was probably his worst game since he's been a starter. But like we said, man, Adam Thielen's a wily veteran. He knows what to do to get open. He knows little tricks of the trade. He might be able to get over here and give a little nudge there to turn here and catch the ball. I think they're just going to get back on track this week defensively. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a close game this week. But, Vic Fangio is going to have that defense ready. I'll bet you anything. He was in those guys' ass all week long when they were watching film about missing tackles. Like you said, Zach Ball missed a few tackles. Nakobe Dean was out of position a couple of times. And that's not something we've seen a whole lot this year.
No.
Those have been great all year long. And I just think it was kind of a bit of a letdown game, a trap game for our team, not just the past game. It was the entire team. We just did not look good against Carolina, and we all going into that game. We're going to kick the crap out of them. It's going to be 31-14. It's going to be 34-17, something like that. And it was a 6-point game in the end.
Yeah. Did you see that clip when they went up to the booth and you saw Vic Fangio? I can't remember which play it was that went wrong. I don't know if it was a Cooper like missed tackle or something, and they went up to Vic Fangio and you could just see when he just like slammed the punched the desk down and he, like his tongue was out and he just looked really pissed off. So
I missed.
It's good to, it's like you said, it's good to see that he's going to be in them this week and he's going to be saying, look, we can't let these little mistakes happen again, because this game Sunday, it's going to be a very physical game for both defenses, both O lines. The weather is going to be a factor with the rain, so it's going to, like you said, it's most likely going to be a low scoring game because of those factors. So he's going to be in them this week, and he's going to be like, yeah, you guys, we got to get this right this week because Mike Tomlin's coming in here. He's going to have his guys ready.
Another thing, Reed Blankenship should be back this week too.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, I'm hoping Sidney Brown is going to be good to go as well.
What was the guy's name that played last week? Tristan
McCullum.
McCullum, that's right. I want to call him Tracy McCullum for some reason. Yep, Tristan McCullum. He did not have a great game. He had some missed tackles and out of position a little bit. But yeah, Reed's going to be back. Like you said, Sidney Brown should be back from his knee injury. He was limited. Everybody else was full participant in practice Thursday, other than Sidney Brown, I believe. So we are as healthy as we can be. Literally. Dallas is going to be out probably until the playoffs, but we've seen that Grant Calcaterra can play really well.
So happy for him last week when he got that touchdown.
I'm like you, I was tickled to death for him.
So see that clip of his brother watching the game in the barn. He just like leapt out of his seat, and I was so happy. And that was another thing. Like some of the media tried to twist that, like, AJ didn't look happy when Grant caught the touchdown, but AJ went straight up to him and like gave him a quick little nudge and hug and like, yeah, well done. That's the thing. See, like everything's just been crazy this week. I just hope obviously they can shut out as much of the noise as they can. They've addressed it, so hopefully now everyone is happy and they can just focus on the game, because this is a big physical game, and they're going to have to, mentally, they're going to have to really be at the top of the game. But they got to get these distractions out of sight, out of mind. So let's switch things a bit a minute. Obviously, the Phillies, we talk about all the sports in Philadelphia. We obviously, we're big Eagles. This is more of an Eagles pod, I suppose, but this is a Philly sports talk pod. And the Phillies, we both follow the Phillies. We're big fans. You went, to see a couple of games last season, and they've missed out on some big free agent signings. What do you think? Do you think Dave Dombrowski has made like a really bad error in judgment? Because it doesn't seem to be anyone really out there now that they can sign this. They seem to be like they're going to run it back.
Well, as far as the free agent, I wouldn't have gave Juan Soto that type of money. I wouldn't have. There's no way I would have done that. I do know that Jack and James were really disappointed that they weren't able to make the trade for Garrett Crochet, Tennessee Vol Garrett Crochet.
Oh.
But I still think, and I was surprised that it came out yesterday supposedly that the Phillies offered Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos for Kyle Tucker to the Astros, and they turned it down. Then they take a lesser trade, it seemed like, from the Cubs, and I didn't understand that. If they literally offered Bohm and Castellanos, maybe they didn't want to take on Casty's contract or something. I don't know. But I think Kyle Tucker's in the last year of his deal as well. So Jack was very upset. I saw on Twitter yesterday that they couldn't get a deal done for Kyle Tucker. I think there is going to be some kind of move made. I think they'll end up trading Bohm at some point in time. Bohm is, I don't want to sound mean when I say it, but it's like he's not very mature to be as old as he
Yeah.
is. He's it's almost like he's fragile, mentally fragile. When things
Mm,
are spiraling for him, he just goes into a hole and he gets so and he just looks immature. Like the way
mm,
like you don't want a 28-year-old, 27-year-old, whatever he is, third baseman sitting on the bench in the dugout crying because he's swinging and missing and stuff like that. I mean,
mm.
it's not the mindset that you want out of somebody like that. I thought that they might make a play for Alex Bregman, but I don't know if they'll
Yeah.
do that. These contracts are looking right now, man. I mean, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, it's a shame with Alec Bohm because, like, he had such a good season last year. He was the leader in RBIs. He
Yeah,
went to the All-Star game. He seemed to be on such a roll, and then obviously he had that like hand injury towards the end before the playoffs, and then he come back, and then you really saw the struggles, and he just wasn't hitting it. Then they benched him for that game, and then he come back, and he just, like, you could just tell his attitude and his mindset had all changed, and he just wasn't into it. And then obviously, we got trenched by the Mets in the first round.
I wonder if Bone being in the home run derby may have messed with him a little bit too.
Yeah, because that was, I mean, like, it was at the time when they announced it, I thought, yeah, it's not a bad idea to throw Alec Bohm in there, but I thought, there's other guys on the team that, that are more suited to putting in there where it's not really going to affect their game. You got Bryce Harper, you got Kyle Schwarber, there's other guys who could have, but obviously the attention was on Alec Bohm at the time because of the RBIs he was putting in, and he was having such a good season, at the time, and yeah. And he did okay in the home run derby.
Yeah,
What did he get to, like, the semi final, something like
yeah, he's
that?
in the final four or something like that. But I think
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta change your swing up, stuff like that. And we've seen it with other players in the past, like they're in the home run derby, they hit a bunch of home runs and stuff like that, but because that's all they're doing, they're changing up their swing, they want to get loft on the ball,
mm,
and I just wonder if that may have messed with him a little bit because that's kind of when things started going down for him and the injury, like you said. But I don't know. Another thing I want to throw out, I saw, and I don't know how solid this is, but I saw somebody point out that the Phillies might be in on Pete Alonso. And I know Jack
ooh,
Pete Alonso, but would Harper say, okay, if you're going to bring a guy like Pete Alonso in, I'll go back to the outfield. But Bryce played at a Gold Glove level at first base. Like
yeah,
Bryce
he was good.
really adapted well to first base. But if you could get a Pete Alonso, that would put Bryce back in right field. You could put Casty in left. I don't know what you'd do in center because I still don't think you can run Rojas out there as an everyday center fielder. He's just, I mean, he's phenomenal defensively. So would that be Marsh in center? Or what? I don't know. Marsh has his ups and downs too. It's going to be.
Yeah,
I don't think they totally run it back to what they did. I think there will be an addition, but will it be like an Alec Bregman after they trade Bone or what? I don't know.
it's
Very
gonna have to be a considerable, respected name. Whoever's left out there, like guys like Bregman and Pete Alonso, because if they run it back again, and then you bring, and you rotate in Rojas and Brandon Marsh, Austin Hayes, that didn't work out. He's already gone. It, you know, and it's mad to see because, like, Whit Merrifield, who
yeah.
struggled with us, he started off okay, and then
Yeah.
he just completely fizzled out. He goes to the Braves,
And he
and
flirted.
he flurried, like, and he did really well with it for them, in fairness to him. And so, Austin Hayes just, like, completely, like, just didn't have it from the get-go. He had a couple of injuries, but you could just see when he was there, he just wasn't up to the standard of what we thought he was going to be. So if it gets completely ran back again, which obviously everyone is sort of, I'm seeing all over, Twitter and stuff at the moment, everyone's sort of starting to freak out a little bit because it's becoming a bit of a concern because it just seems to be they're just sitting there, and the moves that they wanted to make, people didn't want our guys. It doesn't say much when, people don't want Alec Bohm and they don't want Nick Castellanos. You know what I mean? That doesn't, sit well for me because it's like, well, if other teams don't want these guys and now the Phillies are, like, shopping them, it's like, you're going to bring them back next season, and it's like, is their hearts going to be in it once they know that they've been on the chopping block?
Well, I don't know about that, but it's like they had the interview with Rob Thompson at the winter thing or what, and he was like, "No, we've not been shopping bones." So that was the right thing to say. You don't want to say, "Yeah, we've been shopping." What he correct in when he told him, he said, "Yeah, we've had teams call about him, but we're not actively shopping because if he does come back, you don't want him in that locker room like, yeah, you guys didn't want me. You've shopped me all off season." I do think it would benefit Alec Bohm somewhere else without the pressure and the stuff that he has in Philadelphia, because a lot of the fans are just done with him, and I can see why, man. Like I said, it's just the immaturity and how he handles himself when he gets down. Like when he's up, he's great. But he's 27, 28 years old. He doesn't need Bryce Harper coming into the dugout and putting an arm around him, all the time. Hey, you're going to be okay and all this. I mean, it's sometimes you have to grow up and be a man and walk on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
He struggles with that. But I do think it benefit him to get out of Philadelphia and get into the small market, like a small market like Kansas City or Milwaukee or something like that. I do think it would benefit, though.
I think as well, like, Bryson Stott, he's going to need to get his numbers a bit better next season. He seemed to struggle all year, really. I mean, compared to the year before, where he was like really hot, and this season, I did see something the other day that he had a bit of I don't know if it was elbow or something. Something that was like niggling him the whole season, and that's what seemed to affect him apparently. But I mean, time will tell with that now, because the daycare are gonna have to watch out. They need to improve big time next season. So and that's that. Let's hope they can get something done now before the season starts. But obviously, again, we'll touch on him quick. Mr. Joel Embiid, injured again last night. I mean, Joel's had some bad luck with his injuries over the years. I seen the clip from last night. I don't know if you've seen the clip of from the injury. He seemed to just get, like a little whack in the face. I'm not there. I'm not on the court. I don't know how hard, that was to the face, but apparently it's caused some like little fracture or something. His face, which is not good, which means, we're not going to see him for another few weeks, and then will he have to come back with a mask on his face again? And then you're risking more injury down the line, and it's just the whole thing with Embiid is it just cannot get going. Whatever the case, whether it's the knee management or the attitude or now this face injury, it's just is he gone next year? Do you think, or what?
I don't know. I heard him talking about it earlier in the year, like with his cap. They weren't sure how all that would work if they did ship him off. But I'm not sure. Like, out all the folks that watch or listen to us know how much of a movie buff I am. You can see in the background, like all these, and that's I've shown Adam my collection, and I have all these posters and stuff. I'm a huge movie buff, but when I think of Joel Embiid, and I don't want to be mean, but I can't help it. There's a movie, M. Night Shyamalan's second movie called Unbreakable, and the villain in that movie is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
They call me Mr. Glass. And fortunately, poor Joel, man, it sucks. It's like he's snake bit. He cannot get, and it seems like when things are starting to turn around for him, something else happens. And it was just a freak accident. Like you said, I don't know, like, from what I've seen, it was like this part of the guy's wrist and caught him. And that's pretty, there's pretty good bone there. It caught him in the area. I don't know, man. It's just like this guy's career's been snake bit, and
he's just cursed.
Yeah, I think the best of Joel Embiid has gone by.
It's really unfortunate, because when he's at the height of his game, he is really unstoppable, and he does become the best player in the league for the like say the 2 weeks that he has these hot streaks on and what have you. And it's just such a shame, because we know we can get to that really good level, but then just have these massive come downs where he gets these injuries, and it's like you said, he at this point he's cursed. He's made of glass. He's got the snake bite. It's just a real shame. But there we go.
And Jack, I'll go back to what our buddy Jack Fritz says, man. Is it Is it the curse of the process? All the losing and stuff coming
Yeah,
back
it
to bite
probably
'em.
is. It probably is, really, when you look at it.
All God's saying this ain't the way, y'all. So we're going to punish you for it.
What I'm looking forward to is, if the Sixers don't make the playoffs, or they do make the playoffs, and they ultimately will go out in the first round because
Yeah.
they haven't got enough to get past that. And I can't wait for the debate again with Spike and Howard, because I love that debate over Embiid. It's just absolutely brilliant, and they know it makes for great radio and what have you. And I that's what I'm looking forward to. I wish that they didn't have to have that debate. I wish that the process worked, and Embiid didn't have his injuries, and he didn't have this bad luck around him, and all these other problems. I wish none of that was true, but unfortunately it is.
You
And
don't want to guys get injured. You don't. But I mean, it's just that's the way it is. That's the way this guy's career's played out. And
yeah,
you like to think, okay, well, if he took better care of himself in the off season and stuff like that, maybe it wouldn't happen. But that last night's got nothing to do with it. Like I said, he caught like a wrist or a side of the hand, and the other things though, like with the knees, the feet, stuff like that, that could have to do with off-season conditioning, because if you keep
yeah,
your weight down, if you're 7 foot whatever and 275 pounds, well, say you're 7 foot whatever and 260 pounds or 65, I don't know. That can be beneficial, carrying 10 to 15 pounds less weight on those knees and feet. But I mean, it's neither here nor there now. I mean, this guy's career, I think, has been. I mean, he's had a good career. He won MVP. He probably should have won it twice. But
yeah,
the playoff failures are what it's always going to come back to. It
yeah,
is, and
yeah.
the injuries.
Yeah, and that's it. And obviously the Flyers are riding high at the minute. I got myself a little Flyers hoodie over the weekend because
Oh,
Miskov is just he's become a sensation, and I'm glad you know he got benched by Tortorello, and he's come back, and he's kept his head down, and he's got on with it, and now he's having success. So it's really good to see the Flyers starting to creep up a little bit. So. That's really good, and hopefully Broads will get more than his 50
Rhodes in
cents.
60 instead of 50.
Yeah,
Rhodes in 60. It'll work.
Broads.
You,
Yeah,
you,
I know
you know,
Ike is campaigning for his guy, so we'll see now.
yeah,
But yeah,
Rhodes is going to go off where what was the guy's name, Lawton, where he scored 4 goals or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
night or night before last. So
yeah,
they should give him 60 just for that. Guy scored 4.
yeah,
Give him
yeah,
60. Maybe I'll text Jack and tell him, hey, give Rhodes
yeah.
for Lawton scoring 4 goals.
That's it. Yeah, get on it. I'm rooting for Broads. Yeah, so we've got 10 minutes left. Just so let's it's time for Justin's college corner. So last week, the college playoff bracket was finalized. So Tennessee are in, Alabama are out.
Out.
They didn't make it. A lot of people are going to be happy with that because it's going to be, and there's a new playoff structure this year. There's a couple of extra rounds, which is going to make it more exciting, make it more of a, playoff feel in every game, which is going to be really good for, college football. So how are you feeling just about the final bracket and the teams that are in and the teams that didn't get in?
Alabama lost 3 games. They not deserve to get in. There are a lot of people saying, well, SMU didn't play anybody. Clemson won the ACC championship and all that because there was 2 ACC teams that got in, which were Clemson and SMU. But Alabama had 3 losses. And when you have 3 losses and 2 of them, let's see, the first one was at Vanderbilt. You were a 24.5-point favorite and you lose by 6. And then you are a 21.5-point favorite against Oklahoma and you get beat 24-6. You don't deserve to get. You
No.
don't. Sorry, you don't. Their third loss was to us, Tennessee. Now, granted, all 3 of their losses were on the road per se, but that loss they had at Vanderbilt, I saw it. I was watching it. It was 90% Alabama fans in that stadium. So they may have had to go to Nashville, but Alabama went with them to Nashville to watch that game. There's a ton of Alabama fans. They are. They're a national brand, just like the New York Yankees, Los Angeles Lakers, the Dallas Cowboys. Alabama, a brand. So they travel. They have a huge fan base, but you don't deserve to get in. The one thing that I don't like about the playoff is the seeding. Uh, Boise State should not get a first round bye. They shouldn't. You know, they're one of the Power Five lower school things, whatever.
Mm.
Their schedule's horrific. Now, people saying, yeah, their only loss was to Oregon and they only lost by 6 and all this. Yeah, I get that. They played Oregon tough, but they shouldn't get a bye. They shouldn't. Same with Arizona State. They play in the Big 12. It is a major conference, but they lost a lot when they lost Texas and Oklahoma. But they shouldn't get an automatic bye either. They shouldn't. I think once you have your teams in, everything should be reseeded to where you were ranked in the top 25, 15, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That reseed everything, because I don't think a team like Boise State, whose toughest game, you know, their strength of schedule was absolutely horrific compared to teams like Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, any SEC school that got in. Texas, you know, Texas didn't play that tough a schedule either. You know, they went to Vanderbilt and they only won by 4.
Quinn
Vanderbilt
Evers is struggling as well,
went.
isn't he?
Yeah,
There's talk that the Texas fans are calling for Arch Manning to
he
start in the first playoff game. So
yeah,
mm,
that's probably not going to happen.
no.
He's probably. I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to go to the NFL. There was a lot of talk he would be a top 10 pick as a quarterback. I think his stock has dropped tremendously. And I'm going to say Quinn Ewers transfers because Arch Manning is tired of waiting. And I'm
Yeah.
sure he's tired of waiting. You know, he sat last year. He played well this year when he did get to play.
Yeah.
A source here now who has told me, this is from Justin's College Football Corner, that Quinn Ewers will be at Michigan State next year.
Ooh.
So Ike Reese might like that quite a bit.
Wow, because I seen as well. I seen something yesterday that obviously we all know that Bill Belichick now is
Yeah.
going to be in college, and I seen that Quinn could possibly transfer over to him maybe
Maybe.
for the year, because obviously Belichick has come out and he said he wants his program to be to specifically focus on getting guys ready to go straight to the NFL.
Yeah.
The following season, the guys are going to be graduating. So it's going to be interesting to see if he does. He more than likely will transfer, and that's going to be interesting to see.
I'm my guy. I trust. He's down here. He's on Twitter. But I'm not sure he wants me to give his name out. But this guy, he knows. He's got a lot of contact. Big into gambling, and he does a lot of gambling pods and stuff like that. But he told me yesterday, he said, look for Ewers to go to Michigan State. They've got a big NIL together. Michigan State's got that coach from Oregon State who they brought in. This was his first year this year. And if he goes to Michigan State, that would be a shock to me, because they're not Michigan. They're not Ohio State. But I mean, they must be coming up with a lot of money to get him to go to Michigan State if that happens. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him wind up somewhere like North Carolina either, because Bill Belichick knows what it's going to take for you to get into the NFL. If anybody would know, it would be him. But as far as the playoffs, I'm excited. Next Saturday, 8 p.m., Tennessee Vols, Ohio State at the Horseshoe. It's going to be amazing atmosphere. From everything I'm seeing from a lot of my Tennessee friends on Twitter, we're going to have probably 40% of the fans there. Like, that stadium is going to be 40% Tennessee fans.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Tickets like crazy. I mean, I know a ton of people are going. My son has actually thought about going because the tickets have not been so expensive. Like Notre Dame, the playoff ticket for Notre Dame, Indiana is unreal. It's over $1,000.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's insane. And initially, these tickets came out, they were like $350, $400. Well, now we're seeing tickets for like $250 for this. And I mean, it's the playoff. It's really the first big time expanded college football playoff, and Tennessee's in it. So, I mean, my son may be up there in amongst those crazy Tennessee fans. I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's going to be exciting. As far as I think Indiana's going to give Notre Dame a run for their money, but Notre Dame's got a really good defense. Really good.
Oh, they've been so good.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Notre Dame wins.
Mm.
I think, oh man, I think I think Tennessee's going to have a tough game. It's like I said, it's at Ohio State. We don't travel well in big games, but defense does travel well. We have a top
Mm.
five in the country, and Ohio State fans are kind of in shambles after that loss to Michigan
Yeah.
because they felt that this was their year. We're going to beat Michigan, and then we're going to go to the playoff, and we're going to win the Big Ten and all this, and that didn't happen. I think Tennessee goes in and pulls off the upset. I really do. I know it's a
Mm.
8-9 matchup and all that, and a lot of those fans are tweeting at us saying, "Hey, get ready to handle the cold." Guess what, folks? It's been colder than hell down here too. The high yesterday down
Oh
here.
yeah, they won't be. Tennessee ain't going to be worried about the weather.
No,
That's
we
nothing.
ain't. We ain't. So I think Tennessee goes in, pulls off the upset in that one. Uh, I think also, oh man, that SMU game's going to be tough. They're coming off. It looked like they were going to get blown out by Clemson. Then they come
Yeah,
back. Clemson rips their heart out with that 50-yard field goal to end it, man.
yeah.
So does SMU go into Penn State and win? I don't think they do, but I think it's going to
No,
be a game. I do. I think it's going to be a really close game. And who's the other Clemson and who? Shit, it's escaping me. I'm sorry.
Clemson are playing Texas, isn't it? Is it
Yes,
Texas?
right.
Yeah.
I think Texas will beat Clemson. Clemson's kind of up and down all year long. But yeah, I think Texas. I think they handle Clemson. I do.
Mm.
But
That's
Quinn
going to be
Ewers,
an interesting game.
yeah, Quinn Ewers is really got to come out and show something. But yeah, I think this is the last season for him in Texas. I don't think he goes.
Mm.
I think he's playing college ball somewhere else.
Yeah,
Like I said, my guy's telling me Michigan State. I don't know.
yeah. He's going to want to get his draft stock back up a bit, isn't he? He was such a big name, and
Yeah.
he's had some good years, and
Well, let me throw this out at you. Okay,
mm,
so you heard of the Madden curse, correct? Any
yeah,
NFL player that gets on Madden that season, he's screwed. And it's happened again this year with Christian McCaffrey. He was on the cover of Madden and he got hurt and all this. So what about the Dr. Pepper curse? What about it?
mm,
You had
yeah,
DJ Uiagalelei was kind of the first one with Clemson, and his career has done nothing.
done
And then
nothing.
somebody, who was it last year? I forgot who it was, but like this year, Quinn Ewers is the Dr. Pepper spokes guy, and he's not had a good year. He's been banged up and nicked up. There could be a Dr. Pepper curse to go along with the Madden curse.
I tell you something. If they put Saquon on the
Oh,
Madden cover next
no,
year,
no.
I am gonna go crazy because I know that's what they've probably got. They're probably already thinking about. They will be thinking about it. The
Yeah.
next game is always constantly getting developed. So
Well,
it's just like
already been on the cover, and even if Josh Allen wins MVP, he was just on the cover last year. Yeah, last year, Josh.
last year. Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to want Saquon in that beautiful midnight green, but I hope Saquon and the Eagles say no, we're not doing this.
No. Yeah. Do not do it. Please do not do it. So yeah. Just it's been a great pod
Yeah,
again. We've had a really good time, got a lot of fun, and big game this Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's going to be a lot of factors going into it. But I think the guys, as long as they rally around each other, which is, this year seemed to be that they've managed to do that in certain situations. So let's hope this will be. I know it's a tough game to get things right, but there's a way that they can do it, and they have to do it. If they're going to keep chasing the number one seed, if they're gonna want to keep that positive momentum going into the playoffs, because the NFC side of the playoffs this year is going to be really tough for everyone involved, not just the Eagles and the Lions. There's a lot of teams that could cause an upset that are getting hot at the moment. So, they've got to get this right against the Steelers now and Washington the following week. So yeah, just it's been great.
yeah.
So
What do you got? Give me a score prediction. What do you got for
score prediction? Whew, this is a tough one.
I'll go first. I'm
You
going to
go
say
first.
Eagles win a close one in the cold and in the rain, 23-18, because Jake Elliott seals it with a 50-yard field goal because we
Ooh.
had 2018 and we don't want to punt, and we kick a 50-yard field goal in the cold and the rain, and Nick's going to show faith in our man Jake the Make, and he's going to make a 50-yard field goal with like a minute to go, and Eagles win 23-18. What about that?
All right. That sounds good to me. So I'm gonna go a bit overboard in this one. I'm gonna say the Eagles 30. It's gonna be high scoring, yeah, which seems impossible at the minute, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Eagles 30, Steelers 27.
Wow.
Gonna be close.
That's a scoring game.
Yeah. High scoring game.
So we get our win over Russ finally.
Let's hope. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, follow, watch. We appreciate all the support. We love doing this every week. We have a lot of fun. We're just a couple of fans that love talking Philly sports. So until next time, next week, me and Justin, we're going to be on our bye week. Yeah. And then we'll be back after that, going down the stretch, going into crunch time. So yeah, thanks everyone. Go Birds.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Love y'all. I mean it.